So we're gonna cut out all that. Welcome everybody. This is Coach's Corner. I'm Coach Linden. This is
Coach Debbie here.
and
Jada.
and of course Jada's joining us today because Jada likes to hang around the space a lot, right? And we wanted to talk about what it means to just be honest with yourself, right? On your journey, on the things you're experiencing. So we were talking with Jada because Jada always stays a little later. And I remember when you first started your journey, right? Remember when you first started with us, you were like super shy. You didn't talk. I damn sure don't think I could have gotten you to do this, right? And a lot of it was because, you were trying to find yourself, right? So do you want to tell people a little bit about your journey, or do you just want to answer some questions? I won't put you too much on the spot.
I'll answer some questions.
Okay, all right. So I will ask pointed questions here and there, but we're going to talk about your journey a little bit and then kind of rope it forward to like from where you started to where you are now. Fair? Okay, so you got anything to say?
About the journey?
Yeah.
That's fine.
Yeah, overall.
Nah. Let's get into the questions. I don't know.
I like to think that the journey in and of itself, again, when you came in, you were like super quiet. It was interesting watching people gravitate towards you and you weren't talking, right? And I remember somebody asked me, why does Jada have so many people talking about how cool she is and she don't talk? I said, people like a mystery or a project. I said, and they think she's both. Right? And I say that it's less about you and more about that person being like, ooh, I can help her. Let me invite you to this. Let me ask you to do that. Let me do all this. I've heard some of your stories about like your family members and dynamics there. And again, you notice it's similar stuff. Quiet people get taken like they can be taken advantage of. Yes? And that's not true. It's not necessarily true. You're not weak because you're quiet. Right? Which is something I talk about all the time. I used to be I'm an introvert by nature, right? Just because I'm quiet doesn't mean I'm weak. So my first question, I guess, for both of you is going to be, because we're all introverts, have you ever been considered weak because you didn't use your voice much? And if so, when? You want Devin to start or you want to start?
Yeah, you can go.
All right. It could be something from a long time ago. It don't got to be like recent.
I think the choice of words like weak isn't necessarily how I felt other people viewed me. But now that I guess that is an appropriate word now that I'm like where I am now, using my voice more.
Sure.
I think it registers as weakness like internally. Like me not using my voice registers as like a weak point in my...
Like putting yourself in a power dynamic that you weren't even aware that you were part of.
Yeah.
So like someone thinking they can talk over you because you don't talk, kind of deal.
Yeah.
Or sharing their opinions without.
Yeah,
like,
just not sharing my perspective or what I'm seeing.
And them thinking their perspective is more important. Right.
Yeah.
Like just because you don't share yours often or what have you.
Yeah.
Fair. That's spot on. What about you?
I feel like in some relationships, there's been kind of like an overpowering of like what they like more. I guess.
Sure. Yeah.
And I guess I don't think many people have necessarily said that I am.
Is that me?
I know. My phone.
That's your phone?
Yeah.
You want to grab it? Hey, you got to turn them things off. You about bad as me.
My mother.
Normally it's me, honestly. I'm literally like my phone is always on silent because I'm always like we do stuff like this.
But I feel like I'm viewed more so because, or like less of a threat or something.
Sure.
Because I don't feel like I have enough knowledge on protecting myself in different ways. And that's something that like I'm just like insecure about, that I want to like.
Right. Yeah, I've often heard you. Oh, sorry, I didn't mean to overtalk you. I've often heard you say things like, I don't know, and I watch you search the room when you say I don't know to see the people around you's faces, right? I learned a long time ago that was about gauging the room. You were trying to figure out if your I don't know was taken as you were, for lack of a better way to put it, respected or not respected, right? Was your I don't know respected? I don't know, right? Was it, oh man, she don't know shit. Like, or was it, well, yeah, she just doesn't know, right? Like, how did people feel about your I don't know? Fair? So, again, this is something that comes up a lot of the time when it comes to people who are introverts. And how many times have you had somebody try to fix you? Like, raise your hand if you had somebody try to tell you about yourself that didn't even know you because you didn't talk. I can raise my hand for sure, right? Let me tell you about yourself. And you are so wrong. You have no idea who I am. You don't understand barely know little about me. I can think of a very, not super recent, but more recent time where I was having a conversation. And it's so funny because her name was Cassie, right? And she's part of our community, not part of our community. So I don't know if she's going to see this or not. And that's why I'm okay using her name, because she's more of a catalyst than like it being a bad thing, right? It's not anything secret. Cassie came to me one day and was like talking about how much she games and play and watches cartoons or anime. And I was like, yeah, man, I've been doing that for a long time. And just because I didn't go, ooh, and say I wear elf ears, she just assumed she knew more than me, right? Again, this is a bad thing to assume just because someone didn't get all excited. Like, to be completely honest, and I can say this now, the reason I wasn't excited was because I knew that when they spoke, their level of what they got wasn't the same as mine. And I wasn't excited about the prospect of speaking about a thing you barely understand, right? I like deep, meaningful conversations. So if you seem very shallow to me, I'm not gonna jump at the chance to talk to you about deep stuff. You get what I'm saying? And the introvert in me, like, understands that with no words. So someone will go to talk to me and they sound like they're not very deep. And I'll just be like, yeah, I'm not really interested in talking to this person more so than this moment, just because of it. So a lot of, that's why I asked, there's like, have you had that moment? So Cassie was mine, and like she started talking about this game called Elden Ring, which I do a lot about, but she had played it. I chose not to. Again, it's like another game that I'm not a huge fan of, so I didn't play it. But I mentioned something I play, and she was like, real gamers don't play that. I'm like, man, I've been playing video games since before you were born, right? Like, I've been playing a long time, right? So it's a little, respectfully, disrespectful for you to tell me what I know and what type of person I am, right? Which has come up a lot in this space because we have people from different communities who are here, right? So my whole thing is to never judge a book by its cover, to ask more questions, to get to know that person and to better understand. And the people who get that, beautiful stuff. So do you guys have any instances like where you can say, again, it can be something small, it can be something big, it's up to you, on things where someone misunderstood you and they understand, and again, maybe how that turned out for you? Who wants to go first?
I'd say I think I've had misunderstandings in most of my relationships, and as I unpack myself, I think it's because I didn't speak on who I was, or I didn't really.
Fair.
It really felt internally like a commitment thing. Like, I didn't want to commit to any titles or any like boxes.
Sure.
In order to explain my identity to someone else. So the way that I was moving, commitment in my actions made people feel like they weren't quite sure.
Yeah, you talking about being polyamorous?
Just in general,
Just in general in your life.
When
Okay.
I came in here, just being committed to a thing. You know,
Well, I know that was part of your journey. That's why I bring it up. Like,
Yeah.
not necessarily like, cause you're gay, like not
No.
not like that.
I mean,
Like-
that is part of it.
I
yeah.
mean, yeah, I assume, but I wondered if it was because of that. In regard, like, for instance, I worry for my son being able to make his own choices based on all the presentation of the choices in front of him, right? That's something that as a father I think about all the time. So like, what if my son does show up and he's not big and brash and bold, right? Because I wasn't, and people took me the wrong way. So then my dad taught me how to be big, brash, and bold. And it kind of, being completely honest, ruined my ability to have black boy joy. And I love my dad, man. He did his best to protect me He literally gave me everything he could, and I would never take back the years that we spent together. I love that man, right? Shout out to Pop Dukes. But at the same time, you know, again, I didn't get to explore how I was the way I probably should have, because I became very pointed, militant,
And outward.
I felt like I had to protect myself more than I was able to truly enjoy who I was as a kid, right? I had to do more than I got to feel, right? If that helps, I don't know if that helps.
I think it does, yeah.
So that's what comes to mind for me is that, and I wondered if it was because of the path you chose, or was it before you even chose your path? And I'm talking about being polyamorous.
Yeah, I think it's before I intentionally chose the path, but I feel like I've been on that path since I started dating, to be real.
Okay. Yeah, because we've talked about it, right? I'd be like, yeah, man, come on, man, you just out here doing it. Like, we've had conversations, and I've realized, not trying to, but I've also put you in boxes at one time or another, and it was because of my own limited understanding of what the thing was or what it means, not really looking at queerness as something to identify, like to express or to learn who you are, but also just the damn labels.
Yeah.
The labels get in the way to me so much in different ways, but then you meet someone like Timor, and Timor's labels have helped him to identify, and other people to identify, them to identify, and other people to identify them as well.
And I think the same for me. That was the reason I was avoiding labels, is because the labels do feel like constraints, and it really feels like I did a dance project on identity, and the labels feel like disingenuous in a way that, like, I may identify with it to a point. You know what I mean? Like, but not all of me feels like whatever that is.
Yeah.
And I think that has to do with, like, the vocabulary, and why new vocabulary words are coming up for labels and identity is because people feel kind of like they fit into that category. You know, it's like, I want other people to realize who I am, but I also don't want them to take this wrong and be like, oh, I'm bisexual, you know, that means this thing. It's like, maybe you're not, you know, maybe you're some subsect of that where it feels like it's not all encompassing of what people think of when they hear the word.
Yeah, I think of the conversation we had with Jessie where she was talking about how her orientation and then how she married a man and how that orientation was then questioned. Like all the time.
All the time, right.
Right? Because of the choice that she decided to make. And yeah, it's a bigger thing. It's a bigger question.
I think that's the fear. I think that's the fear of the labels. Is like, yo, if I put myself in this box, then people are going to assume that.
You can jump in at any time, by the way.
Yeah, people are going to assume that I'm that, you know, and they're going to treat me as such. And I don't really want to be treated as an archetype. I want to be treated as a
individual.
As a whole person.
Fair. I think that's why I have a problem with the labels in general, like using them for so long, is because I saw more trying to identify a thing, which I understand. But but it didn't feel like we were finding who we are. It felt like, oh, no, I'm just going to another group. You get what I'm saying? And that bothered me. But again, meeting people like Timor, Kay, some of our other community members, Apollo, has helped me to see that the limitation is based on not wanting to understand, not being misunderstood, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
So, you know, that's how I've been looking at it. You got a story?
I can only think of like times where like I had, you know, clashed with like friends and it didn't work out. Like one of my friends that I had, it was like they didn't like somebody that I didn't even know they didn't like. And they saw me with that person.
Okay, got you. I was wondering, I was like, where is she going with this? Fair?
Yeah, it was like my sister was friends with her and her older sister. They both had, well, one of them had just graduated the school I went to, and the other one was still going to that school.
Okay.
And I guess this girl, like, she was very dramatic. just had strong like views. Kind of was like racist towards white people.
I think we've all experienced that a little bit,
Yeah.
honestly.
So then
Yeah.
she felt like the other girl was racist because she had like posted something regarding how like basically white people should be able to have like braids.
Oh
in their
yeah,
hair
cornrows. The
because-
time of cornrow. I remember this
Right.
debate. Dang. Okay. Yeah.
Because like black girls have straight
Right.
hair and stuff, and so like,
Black girls have straight hair.
well, they'll do. They can't.
They
They
straighten
can
their hair.
straighten
They
their
can
hair.
straighten their
But
hair.
it ain't straight.
Maybe they
It's rare that you meet a
weave
black
or
woman with
whatever, but,
with
like,
straight hair.
Just the style.
Yeah. Fair enough. I got where you were going. I'm saying like naturally, that joint curly for most of the black women I meet, like very thick, very robust. And then I used to say nappy, right? And I got chewed out for that a couple times. So I stopped saying the term. I'm like, okay, so curly, and again, just coarse. You know what I'm saying? Like using terms that don't sound so bad. It was a large part of it. I mean, because, again, hair is a sensitive subject. So it is. For a lot of ladies I've met, I'm like, dang, I didn't know it was that big. But it is. So that turned into arguments between you all?
Yes, well,
Because
it was basically, it was more of like she was just going off like if you are around her, even we can't be friends. And I'm like, it was just ridiculous.
Felt
she
like
started
a bit
going
too
on
much,
about
huh?
other things
Fair.
like, and it's like, oh, all of a sudden, like, I'm this problem. I don't know. But I've had times where I guess it's like it stopped me from being as speaking as openly because I would say things impulsively that weren't necessarily the nicest things.
Sure.
I've gotten in trouble before, but also it's just like it just comes off not like as me being somebody that I don't want to come off as.
Fair. I think that's real. That's honest, man. It's too often we don't get those moments, right? Like too often things feel heavy, so you don't get to talk about them in a way that you really want to. And then, to defend yourself, and again, this is one of the problems with being quiet. To defend yourself, you almost feel like you have to attack people because they just talk at you for so long that eventually you either attack or just leave, right? You don't normally, there's no happy median there for most of us. It's the extremes. Not talking enough, leave, or start yelling, right? It's not normally, I'm gonna come into this conversation with poise and elegance, and I'm gonna say, hey, this is my words by articulating what I wanna say. Nah, normally you just get pissed off. You know what the fuck I said? Blah, 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 like, right? And don't be talking about my friend like that. You don't know her, blah, blah, blah. Like, that is a lot of times how it goes. And it's funny that you bring up that debate because we are in mixed space now, right? And I have said so many times to so many people in this space, you never know who has what you need, right? I'm not saying that because it's cool to say. I'm saying that because, like, how many times I'd have had somebody of a certain, let's say, wheat color, right? Wheat grade, or of color or background come to me and say something like, hey, I just wanted to share, like, I see you doing this. Are you aware of this, right? Like, for instance, a lot of parents raise us in more of a survival mode. So I didn't know how to budget growing up. My parents opened a bank account for me, had a checking and a savings, but didn't really explain, like, again, they did the best they could. They didn't explain the importance of putting money away to me like that. And they tried. It was just, we never, as kids, we didn't understand it. And when they tried, again, I didn't connect it to being important. And because they didn't help me connect it, I missed it, right? As an adult, I had to go back and say, oh, that's important. Saving money is important. I should probably learn how to do that, right? So I try to think of it as learning lessons or things that we can grow from. So yeah, hell yeah, having people in your life think you weak because you don't talk, it's absolutely a thing. That's why honesty is important. Again, we all have instances that kind of told us like, it's better to be quiet, right? But we should all have wins too, right? Have you had a moment where you did speak up and it worked really well? Like, let's say it changed something, you became closer friends, you got a raise at work. It can be anything. Anything poke out to you? I know it's a tough one right there.
I can't think of anything too specific right now.
Sure. Yeah, you got anything?
Any times that
Yeah, a win. Speaking your mind actually gave you a positive outcome. And you weren't even sure it was going to work.
yeah, I think every time I speak these days, yeah, there's like there's this pain in my chest, you know, that feels like it's that anxiety. I come from a spot where like my mom's used to say, do it right the first time. And that stopped me from doing a lot of things, stopped me from saying a lot of things. And also because I was trying to prove, you know, that I was doing it right, that also made me lie a lot when I was younger. So me using my voice for the first time, I think is scary in that way. It's like my go-to is like to either shut up or to lie to avoid the shame of not doing it right the first time. And speaking up and speaking honestly is transformative in the way that like you don't know how it's going to pan out, but at the end of the day I don't feel that in my chest when I go to sleep, you know.
Whenever I think about it, I think of a famous quote, and I'm going to jack this quote up, but I'm going to get the basic premise of it. It says something along the lines of, you know, when you were anxious or you were quiet, you know, you thought you had control, but all you really had was anxiety, right? And it was interesting to me to see this quote, because this quote in and of itself explains the nature behind being silent. Being silent is an avoidance tactic. It's not something that has to do with actually being honest, because you're lying to yourself, even to the importance of your voice, right? If I'm and think about it, anytime you're quiet, think about how you feel when you leave the situation. Do you feel better? Most of the time, no, right? Especially when you had something to say. I'm not talking about something happened, you didn't say anything. I'm saying like you mentioned, I think it was the Lilac Run, where somebody came by and said something, and you were like, I wish I had said something, like, and then you probably did what most of us do. You know, if Lyndon was here, he'd have said something. Or I know I should have said something, like something along those lines. I've compared myself to other people. What would this person I look up to have done in this situation? And sometimes nothing, other times right. And it's funny because when you brought it to me, I was like, I don't know what I'd have done in that situation. I have no idea, right? Most people think I'm just going to run to the front and just be like, I protect everybody. I have no idea. Protecting someone could have been remaining silent, right? I don't know. I have no idea because I wasn't there. So again, to not be honest is to literally make yourself feel worse than the words you probably should have said could have made you feel better. And I think that's crazy interesting, right? And again, how do you know you're doing the right thing if you're not speaking outwardly and open? How do you know that you're moving in the right direction if your voice is the only guiding thing that you're sticking to, right? The people around you see you for who you are. If you don't speak, if you're not honest, then how can they see you? Fair? You want people to guess who you are? That's stupid. I literally said, like, people, I knew people was going to look at the way I talked to Jada and be like, yo, he be talking to her kind of crazy, right? Because most of our white brothers and sisters have never seen black dynamics. I talk to you like you're one of my kids. You've heard people talk like that before. Again, there's a little bit of cuss out, but there's a lot of love too. And you like get that from me. They'll look over and you're smiling. They're like, yo, serious? They're confused, right? But I got kids now. I have a daughter close to your age. And because of that, I was able to look at it and be like, how would I talk to my daughter? We would play, we would laugh. When you started drilling me back, I was like, yeah, that motherfucker getting comfortable, right? But that's good. It's good. I want you to be comfortable. I want you to feel welcome here, right? And what was funny was the first time you drilled me and I drilled you back, everybody started hopping in like, nah, you should have said this. It drew the community together a little bit. See, your lack of voice was the connection we didn't have. your voice being used became the connection we do. Again, being honest with yourself helps you to connect with other people. Hands down. So that's why I advocate for it. Fair? Okay. We are out of time. Like, we have been here talking for a minute. It goes like that pretty quick now, right? I'm like, these things are getting long, but in a good way. So thank you so much for joining us. If you are trying to figure out where you can find our amazing community, then you can check us out at www.gettingitdaily.com, or you can follow us on Facebook or Instagram at Getting It Daily, and we will be happy to show you how you can get in touch with us. All right? So until next time, signing off. Peace.
Peace.
Did you just bow? Hey,
See you
yo.
later.
Hey, yo. She said...